everyone. I'm Mariam Jamila with my co-host Ali Hassan and Mohammad Tausif is here with another episode of Rest is Noise. And today we're going to talk about the biggest buzzword of the decade, I guess, which is artificial intelligence. आप पिछले कुछ दिनों में किसी के साथ भी अपने कन्वर्सेशन की होगी तो उसने आपसे बात की होगी इस बारे में कि जी एआई आ रही है और एआई इज गोना टेक ओवर एवरीथिंग और हमारी जॉब्स भी चली जाएंगी और काफी ज्यादा देयर आर पीपल हु थिंक्स कि रोबोट्स आर गोना टेक ओवर द वर्ल्ड और एआई सब चीजों को टेक ओवर कर लेगी एंड this has been an interesting conversation we had with a lot of people in our circles. हम तीनों का टेक बैकग्राउंड है जैसे कि हमने पहले एपिसोड में डिस्कस किया और this conversation has always led us to try to help people to discriminate between कि misinformation क्या है और actual में story क्या है. So I'll go to Tausif to give us a little bit of a timeline of how AI evolved until ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is something that made it more mainstream. And I want to hear what Tausif got to say, and then we will move ahead. So Tausif.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, guys. So when I found that we are running AI discussion today, I wanted to do like a short primer where we could get introduced के origin कहाँ से होता है और कहाँ पे different breakthroughs होते हैं that led all the way to the development of let's say systems like ChatGPT or Anthropics जो Claude वगैरह systems आज हम देख रहे हैं. So 1956 में डार्टमथ कॉन्फ्रेंस होती है, वहाँ पे एआई की टर्म इंट्रोड्यूस की जाती है, फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता उसको ट्रैक्शन मिलना शुरू होती है. 1960s में बहुत मिनिमल से बेसिक एआई सिस्टम्स जो हैं वो अपीयर होना शुरू होते हैं, बट वो लाइक बहुत बेसिक सिंबॉलिक रीजनिंग और बहुत एक वेल डिफाइंड रूल्स होते हैं उनके अंदर जिसके अंदर वो फंक्शन करते हैं. सो अलॉट क्लोज टू, अगर हम आम जुबान में बात करें जिसको हम एल्गोरिथम बोलते हैं, तो बेसिकली वहीं पे 1960s 1970s में हम वहीं पे ट्रेड कर रहे होते हैं. 1975 में Microsoft is born. We will find out why that is important later on. 1980s में जेफरी हिंटन जो हैं वो पॉपुलराइज करते हैं बैक प्रोपगेशन को. जेफरी हिंटन, we all know, he just won a Nobel Prize, और AI में he has like a ton of contribution. Also 1980s में IBM starts working on chess programs, apparently to actually kind of display the capabilities of AI. You have to, Deep Blue. I think 1997 was the year जहाँ पे it eventually beats the chess champion at the time, who
1996.
was Garry Kasparov, Russian chess player. So that was in the 1990s, and then 2006 में जेफरी हिंटन जो हैं वो इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं डीप बिलीफ नेटवर्क्स. they're called DBNs. Again, like you can call it like an like a variant of what we are seeing as the neural networks and the CNNs. और वो बेसिकली क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है, वहाँ से किक स्टार्ट होता है जिसे हम आजकल या एक्चुअली लास्ट डेकेड में जो सारा राइज था डीप लर्निंग का, दैट बेसिकली फॉर्म द बेसिस फॉर दैट. और वाइल ये सब कुछ हो रहा है, 2006 से 2010 के बीच में एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ होती है दैट विल अगेन प्रूव टू बी वेरी यूजफुल, और वो है अब ये बाय द वे टाइम है जहाँ पे हम जो कंप्यूटर्स की पावर है इन टर्म्स ऑफ CPU, वहाँ पे भी स्टार्ट स्लोली हिटिंग अ वॉल, राइट. ये वहाँ पे जहाँ पे हम i3, i5s, i7s आ रहे हैं, एंड कंपनीज आर स्लोली गेटिंग आउट ऑफ आइडियाज के हम मतलब इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्लॉक स्पीड हम वी आर ऑलरेडी हिटिंग द लिमिट, ये ओवर हीट कर जाएगा, तो अब हमने इसको फर्दर कैसे करना है, राइट. और वो बातें शुरू हो जाती हैं कि वो जो मूर्स लॉ है इज डेड नाउ, जिसके अंदर like projection थी कि like every 2 years the compute power will increase like by an order of magnitude each year. So that's happening. So GPU is gaining traction 2006 to 10 for compute purposes as opposed to just gaming. 2012 May, AlexNet wins one of the computer vision problem for image recognition slash some other domains that they compete in. It was won by Alex Iliasatskiver, if you've heard of him, or Jeffrey Hinton again. The importance of AlexNet was that it was trained on an NVIDIA GPU. It was GTX 500 or something. 2012 में Google, Microsoft, Facebook, the big names now, they start stepping up and they basically start setting up their dedicated AI labs strictly for AI research purposes and stuff. So basically all the big players. Now this is where corporate interest starts coming in, और हम देख रहे हैं कि corporates are going not all in, but they do realize कि अब आगे future में क्या expected changes हैं और हम कहाँ पे जा रहे हैं, तो they start betting big on AI. Around that time, Google acquires DeepMind, the AI startup, I believe, out of UK.
UK.
So, Tasit, I would like to interrupt you here, and I would like you to go a little bit like a short comparison between GPU and CPU, and then before you move ahead.
Like why it was important that the CPU hit the limit, but then GPU were more useful?
Yeah, so the thing is with AIs, and especially with transformers, as we'll see later, the compute was becoming more and more important because आपको AI models train करने के लिए जो चीज चाहिए थी, that was you needed to run a ton of calculations. And a lot of those calculations can happen in parallel, or preferably should be happening in parallel. Now that is what GPU is suited to do. Unlike CPU, CPU is like, in terms of layman's term, you can say that CPU is an intelligent device जो बहुत सारे काम कर सकती है, logic से deal कर सकती है, and those kind of things. GPU on the other hand is a dumb device, लेकिन वो बहुत अच्छी है number crunching के अंदर. You can
Matrix
give it,
calculations में,
yeah, you can give it trillions of calculations and it can run it in a seconds, जो कि एक CPU के लिए possible नहीं है. So that's why
large
GPU,
data sets को भी वो ज़्यादा better manage कर लेता है.
absolutely. Right, so moving on, 2014 में sequence to sequence models come out of Google. Sequence to sequence models are basically, they are more targeted for the translation purposes, where a sequence of words is fed. So there it goes in, and the outcome is again a sequence of tokens, you can call it, और उनका like it goes through some transitions, और उसका purpose था to come up with kind of translation. Maybe they intended to use it primarily for the Google Translate. 2015 is one when Sam Altman or Elon Musk finds OpenAI with some interest from a couple of VCs. We'll find out why and where OpenAI gets important. 2015, NVIDIA releases AI-specific chips. Now they are stepping out of their territory. NVIDIA अभी तक के लिए primarily एक gaming company थी. वो GPUs बना रहे थे जो game,
consumer based GPUs.
हाँ, even जो AI training के लिए use हो रहे थे GPU, the one that we saw in case of AlexNet was a consumer GPU. I think it was GTX 520, if I'm correct. Right, so AI chips start coming out to 2015, I think that was the time of Tesla K80 or Tesla K100 were the leading chips at that time in AI. Okay, moving on. Then comes 2017, and the famous paper comes out titled "Attention is All You Need," and that is where everything changes and basically transformers are born. We will see उसकी realization बाद में जाके होती है, but 2017 is when transformers are introduced, और उसके साथ in parallel एक और important चीज होती है कि Google introduces TPUs. So that means 2017 Google is betting big on AI at that time. Maybe उस time उस तरह से वो news में नहीं था, but yeah, Google was setting itself up to be able to produce infrastructure on which AI can run. उसको वो tensor processing units बोलते हैं, and it still continues. 2018 OpenAI. Now this is the realization of transformers. 2018 OpenAI release करता है ChatGPT. No, not ChatGPT. That was just GPT. ChatGPT was the eventual application. Yeah. So what you can call GPT-1, and Google in parallel introduces BERT, that was kind of similar thing built on top of transformers, kind of
and just
trying
for
to achieve the
audience,
same purpose.
GPT is nothing but just a generative pre-trained transformer. सो जिस तरह से ट्रांसफार्मर की बात हो रही है कि जो रियलाइज किया, तो ये प्री ट्रेंड आपके ट्रांसफार्मर्स हैं विच कैन जनरेट लैंग्वेज और कन्वर्सेशनल एआई.
हाँ, बेसिकली जीपीटी वाज अ डम वर्जन ऑफ, अगर आपने चैट जीपीटी अभी यूज किया तो वो थोड़ा स्लो था और लिमिटेड था और इतना रिस्पॉन्सिव नहीं था, और उसमें जो एआई के प्रॉब्लम्स अभी हम आगे जाकर देखेंगे उसमें वो ज्यादा थे रिलेटिवली. सो
बोथ 1 and 2.
Yeah. So 2019, Microsoft injects $1 billion into OpenAI, acquires a piece of OpenAI. Why is that important? Because OpenAI was making amazing advancements in AI, but वो kind of limited थे from resource perspective, from infrastructure perspective. And Microsoft क्योंकि अपना cloud infrastructure run करता है, तो they were willing to come up with kind of an offer where OpenAI को discount पे जो है वो उनके CPUs GPUs मिलते हैं जिनको वो यूटिलाइज करके अपना ट्रेन करते हैं, और उसके बदले में माइक्रोसॉफ्ट को जो है वो OpenAI के अंदर स्टेक दिया उन्होंने. और then happens 2020, that is COVID times. OpenAI rolls out GPT-3. Why is that important? Because GPT-3 में OpenAI ने basically एक चीज प्रूव कर दी कि इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ साइज. जैसे जैसे आप पैरामीटर्स इंक्रीज करते हो, यू सी ड्रास्टिक इम्प्रूवमेंट्स इन दीज मॉडल्स. सो 2020 में GPT-3 आता है, बट इट्स स्टिल नॉट मेन स्ट्रीम. हम ऑन एंड ऑफ न्यूज में सुन रहे होते हैं कि देयर इज अ मॉडल दैट इज केपेबल ऑफ डूइंग दैट. कुछ लोग थे उस टाइम पे, पब्लिकली ओपन नहीं था, इट वाज काइंड ऑफ कॉस्टली. बहुत कम लोग थे जो स्पेशली राइटिंग के बिजनेस के अंदर थे ना, मे बी न्यूज पेपर एंड जर्नलिस्ट, आई एम नॉट एंटायरली श्योर, बट उस डोमेन में कुछ लोग थे, कुछ ब्लॉग राइटर्स थे, those who could afford it, जो GPT-3 को leverage कर रहे थे even in that time. Then
I think mostly for editing.
Yeah. फिर 2022 November is an important date where it all happens. ChatGPT is open to public and it grows like faster than anything. Reaches 100 billion customers within a matter of months. Then 2023, so 2022 is when everyone is introduced to basically AI, and we are seing that ये सारी जो डिबेट हम सुन रहे हैं जैसे शुरू हो जाती है कि एआई
AI मेन स्ट्रीम हो जाती है।
हाँ एआई मेन स्ट्रीम हो जाती है, क्या क्या चेंजेस आएंगी और लेबर मार्केट पे इसके क्या इम्पैक्ट्स होंगे, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला।
आपकी जॉब चली जाएगी।
प्रिसाइसली 2023 इज इम्पोर्टेंट, जहाँ पे अब चीज़ें बहुत पेस अप हो जाती हैं और दे स्टार्ट रोलिंग आउट, एंड नाउ गूगल ऑल्सो हैज़ इंटरेस्ट, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ऑल्सो शोज इंटरेस्ट, और चीज़ें वी स्टार्ट सीइंग मल्टी मॉडल एआईज, जहाँ पे सिर्फ टेक्स्ट नहीं है, अब इमेज जनरेशन पे काम हो रहा था, बट अब वो सिस्टम्स आना शुरू हो जाते हैं जो जिसको आप टेक्स्ट देते हो और इमेज देते हो और वो उससे कॉन्टेक्स्ट बनाने की कोशिश करता है। उसके अंदर क्या प्रॉब्लम्स है वो अपनी जगह है, बट अगेन वी आर गोइंग इन दैट डायरेक्शन। 2023 Google, Microsoft, everyone starts integrating AIs in their system. Apple tries to come up with its own version of thing with the help of OpenAI.
OpenAI।
और 2024 में आज हम खड़े हैं जहाँ पे अगेन ये सब बड़े प्लेयर जो हैं वो रियलाइज कर रहे हैं एआई का पोटेंशियल, और इस हद तक रियलाइज कर रहे हैं कि दे आर विलिंग टू बाय न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट्स बिकॉज दे नो that in future they need to run kind of data centers that were never thought of.
And how much energy
The energy
that
it
will
will
require.
उसकी energy requirements जो हैं.
Yeah, and that adds cost.
Yeah, so that is your primer for how AI started and developed all the way to where we are today.
So thank you so much, Tausif. And I want to add something here कि जो one of the important factor आपने ये notice किया होगा start से end तक इस timeline में is कि हम बात कर रहे हैं compute power की, हम computational resources की, और किस तरह से वो exhaust हो रहे हैं, और how transformers में ज़्यादा parameters हैं. So the reason that's happening is आप basically AI is all about data. तो आपके पास जितना डेटा है उतनी बेहतर AI है, जितना डेटा एक्सपोज होगा AI को उतनी ही बेटर लर्निंग होगी. इट्स प्रीटी मच एज लाइक ह्यूमंस, जितनी चीजें हम एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं उतना बेटर हमारी इंटेलिजेंस होती है, एंड इट्स द सेम एक्सपोजर दैट यू गिव टू द AI. And that's what the basic of it. So हम जिस तरह से आगे आगे मूव करते जा रहे हैं, ChatGPT is trained on million of data sets. इसी तरह से आपके पास ImageNet है that's been trained on huge data sets. So that's what the key thing here is कि हमारे पास data कहाँ से आ रहा है, हम data को किस तरह से use कर रहे हैं, and that data basically becomes the holy grail of AI. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how would you explain an AI to somebody who has no exposure to it? या आपके पास if you have like grandparents, आपके if you are talking to a 75 years old and आपने AI उनको explain करनी है, तो and I go into these conversations with every family gathering, or if अगर आप दोस्तों के साथ बैठे हैं या सबके साथ, and there are people who don't have this background, तो जब they ask me about AI, तो मेरा बड़ा सिंपल सा जवाब होता है कि humans शुरू से obsessed हैं with the idea of making a machine or manufacturing a machine जो कि humans की तरह काम कर सके. और physically हम बहुत सारी चीजें अचीव कर चुके हैं, जो physically चीजें humans कर सकते हैं हमने काफी हद तक अचीव कर ली हैं with industrial revolution और with machineries that we have done so far. So काफी कुछ हो चुका है. अब जिस तरफ हम जा रहे हैं, और वो चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट भी है, वो है कि ह्यूमंस किस तरह से डिसीजन मेकिंग करते हैं, किस तरह से सोचते हैं, और हम उसे मिमिक करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. And that's what the ultimate goal is with AI. So everything that a human can do, think, and process, a machine should be able to do that. और ये ultimate AI है, like which is basically gonna be called AGI. But for now, we are calling it the ultimate goal for artificial intelligence, what AI to me is. I want to hear, Ali, your perspective if you have to explain it to your grandparents or great-grandparents,
Okay.
what it is.
I think I will just say how I will explain to my dad.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think Tausif ने discuss किया है कि how AI started. एंड फॉर मी दैट्स अ वेरी गुड ग्राउंड टू एक्सप्लेन के एआई को जॉन मैकर्थी जब उसने रिसर्चर्स को बुलाया, उसने क्या बोला उनको? ही सैड लेट्स थिंक अबाउट मेकिंग अ थिंकिंग मशीन. सो टू माई डैड आई विल से, अबू आप इमेजिन करें एक मशीन है जो कि शायद 100% इंसान की तरह नहीं, लेकिन कुछ हद तक इंसान की तरह सोच सकती है. उसका काम क्या होगा? इन एन आइडियल स्टेट इट विल, वो एक आपके लिए हेल्पफुल टूल होगा जो इंसानों की तरह सोच के आपकी प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व करेगा. वो प्रॉब्लम्स क्या हो सकती हैं? वो एक कन्वर्सेशन हो सकती है जो कि जिसको आज की फॉर्म में आप एआई इज heavily being used as a conversational AI. पहले क्या था? I think like going back even in 86 हमने फर्स्ट सेल्फ ड्रिवन कार लाइक टू सम एक्सटेंट हमने बना ली थी. तो वो क्या था? एक लिमिटेड वर्जन ऑफ एआई तो था. बट नाउ जब हम कहते हैं कि एक मशीन है जो इंसानों की तरह सोच सकती है और इंसानों की तरह आपसे बात भी कर सकती है और इवन आप बोल भी सकती है. सो फॉर देम दैट्स अ वेरी आइडियल डेफिनेशन ऑफ व्हाट एआई इज कि एक मशीन है जिसको आपने क्वेश्चन किया है, उसने उसके ऊपर सोचा है, उसने उसके ऊपर उस डेट आपके क्वेश्चन को और अपने आंसर को मजीद एनरिच किया है विद लाइक अदर रिसोर्सेज व्हिच इज बीइंग ट्रेन्ड. अब वो इंटेलिजेंस कहाँ से आ रही है? जैसे इंसान ऑब्जर्व करता है, लर्न करता है, उसकी उसका रिवार्ड सिस्टम है, मिस्टेक से वो सीखता है कि इनकी कॉस्ट है, और अच्छी लर्निंग्स या अच्छे एक्शन से वो सीखता है कि इसके इसके बेनिफिट्स हैं. तो वो इसी तरह से अपने आप को रीइंफोर्स करता रहता है. मशीन्स को भी जब हम कहते हैं कि ओ लाइक वी ये इतना बड़ा डाटा होगा, उतनी ज़्यादा इंटेलिजेंस होगी, वो इसलिए है कि उसने उन सारी चीज़ों से सीखा है कि ये काम कैसे करना है. अब जितना आप उसको ट्रेन करते जाएंगे किसी एक डोमेन के अंदर, उतनी वो एआई इंटेलिजेंट होती जाएगी और उतना वो आपको बेटर रिस्पॉन्स दे सकेगी. सो आई थिंक इन सिंपल टर्म्स आई विल जस्ट गो बैक टू से कि एआई इज जस्ट थिंकिंग मशीन्स.
So tell me, Tosif.
For me, what came to mind was कि मैंने कुछ पुरानी वीडियोस देखी थी जब कंप्यूटर कॉमन हो रहा था. तो उस टाइम पे जो लोगों के पर्सपेक्टिव्स थे, उसके अंदर वो कुछ लोगों की एक्सपेक्टेशंस थी कंप्यूटर पे, जो कंप्यूटर से जो वो बाद में रियलाइज नहीं हुई. फॉर एग्जांपल, कुछ लोग कहते थे कि लाइक वो ना छोटी छोटी प्रॉब्लम्स कोट करते थे कि यार मैं कंप्यूटर जब आएगा ना तो ये जो मैं हम चीजें रख के भूल जाते हैं ना, हमने कहाँ पे रख दी थी, तो वो हमें बता दिया करेगा कि इस तरह की चीजों में हमें असिस्ट कर दिया करेगा. तो लेकिन वो चीज फिर कंप्यूटर में रियलाइज नहीं हुई. जब कंप्यूटर आ गया तो हमें पता लगा कि नहीं, हाँ वो बता तो देगा, लेकिन वो तब बताएगा जब आप उसको हर टाइम बता के रखोगे, जब ये मैंने चीज अब मैंने उठा के यहाँ से वहां पे रख दी.
Yeah,
Right?
I do that with my keys.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that is a good example of जिसके अंदर आप बता सकते हैं कि एआई जो है वो काइंड ऑफ आपका एक आप सोच सकते हैं पर्सनल असिस्टेंट या मुलाजिम टाइप आप उसको सोच लें, अगर आपने प्लेनर टर्म्स में जाना है तो. अ, जिसके अंदर उसको आपकी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन या मोस्ट ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन पता होगी. वो आपसे एक दो स्टेप आगे होगी एंड इट विल बी एबल टू टेल के लाइक आपके अगर बिल्स ड्यू हैं तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली पे हो जाएंगे. आपकी अगर कोई इम्पोर्टेंट डेट्स अप्रोच कर रही हैं, लाइक कोई इवेंट वगैरह है, उस तरह की चीज़ें, वो आपका पूरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझते हुए ना, आपके अगर अगर आप इतना कनेक्टेड उसके साथ हैं और आप उसको पता है कि आपके जो स्केड्यूल है उसके अंदर इवेंट ए है और इवेंट बी है, वो क्लैश कर रहा है, तो जब द मोमेंट वो क्लैश क्रिएट होगा तो वो उसको ना सिर्फ आपको अलर्ट करेगा, मे बी उसको अपने ओन पे जो है वो फिक्स करने की भी कोशिश करे. राइट? आपके बिहाफ पे रिजर्वेशंस कर सकेगा, आपके बिहाफ पे नॉट फिजिकल वर्क्स, लेकिन इस वक्त अभी हमें पता है कि 2-3 स्टार्टअप्स हैं जहाँ पे लाइक फिजिकल रोबोट्स पे भी काम हो रहा है. तो इवेंचुअली देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी कि आपके पास एक्चुअल में एक रोबोट हो जो दैट डज ऑल योर वर्क. तो काइंड ऑफ एक्चुअली डेफिनेशन ऑफ मुलाजिम जो सब कुछ करे. right? So I think ये एक kind of analogy है जिसको आप use करके explain कर सकते हैं to 70-year-old.
Thank you so much. I think what I understood from our conversation is कि आप basically human पर्सनल असिस्टेंट क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं जो कि आपके कामों में आपकी मदद कर सके एंड you are not the one who's thinking they can make decisions based on the context they have. So what basically my first introduction to AI was and it could be anything. It could be social media, it could be pop culture, it could be academia. Though I have a computer science background, so it's a funny thing to say, but for me, one of the first introduction was the movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was a movie made in 60s, and till date, one of the best and accurate portrayal of AI for me. और उसमें एक machine है जो कि आपकी the way you're talking, it's trying to read your lips. It's basically in doing a lot of speech recognition. It's trying to see कि आपके actions recognize कर रही है, आपके postures recognize कर रही है, and that's something that was so interesting to me. I was like, this is something I would like to see in the future. Though वो काफी tragic सी story है and everything, and it's a hard movie to watch. Let's say that, but it's out there, and you see कि अच्छा, this is very interesting for me, and that was my first introduction to AI. And after that, I remember कि Facebook used to do this thing back in like early 2010, and कि they would ask you कि आज आप कैसा महसूस करें, और लोग बता रहे होते थे कि जी I'm feeling loved and I'm feeling sad and I'm feeling happy with like 60 others, और
What's
हमने
on your
सबने
mind?
what's on your mind and all of this. And I remember having this conversation क्योंकि उस जमाने में मतलब my bachelor to masters was moving, and we were thinking a little bit deeper into कि how social media navigates around our data sets. और तो तब मुझे ये काफी ज्यादा realize हुआ कि basically they are collecting this data set, so tomorrow they can make these predictions कि अच्छा जी उस दिन ऐसा मौसम था, तो ये इस तरह की फीलिंग थी, तो अब नेक्स्ट टाइम जब ऐसा मौसम होगा एंड इस तरह की के एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स होंगे, तो ये जो है इस तरह से फील करेंगे. एंड नाउ यू बिगिन टू सी कि आपकी जो रिकमेंडेशंस हैं, आपकी बहुत सारी चीजें, दे कलेक्ट दिस काइंड ऑफ डेटा फॉर यू एंड देन दे गिव यू दैट काइंड ऑफ रिकमेंडेशन. सो आई वांट टू आस्क you, Ali, what was your first introduction to AI was?
Terminator, Skynet.
Uh,
And I think that had like really a huge impact. I used to think like, I think, to be very honest, Skynet के साथ I always like, अब उसके साथ जो अभी भी feel होता है ना कि whenever you think about AI in a more traditional way, you feel like, oh, there will be machines who will be taking over. I think that's purely because of Terminator.
I agree.
Lekin to some other extent, Robocop or even Blade Runner,
Mm.
I think like those were few movies where I started thinking about, oh, machines can do this. Like maybe we have dumb computers at that time, but there will be a time when they will take over. But I think अब ये जिस ये इनोवेशन फेज से हम गुजर रहे हैं एआई का, आई थिंक इट्स अ biggest nose of adoption for AI right now. It's very interesting to see कि it's not starting as how it was being seen. I'm not sure how it will be after 5, 10, 20 years, because जिस pace से चीजें change हो रही हैं, जिस pace से, I mean, we have moved away from, not away, but like to another step where now we have actions, LLM actions, which are becoming to like get more and more mature. So just not giving you a conversational answer, they can go and do things for you. So maybe we are formalizing Skynet to some extent.
I do not disagree. So, what do you think, Tasif? What was your first introduction?
टर्मिनेटर फ्रैंकली मैंने नहीं देखी, आज तक नहीं देखी.
What?
You should. We should watch it next time we are all together.
हाँ, so I think मैंने कुछ मूवीज देखी होंगी जो AI से कनेक्ट करती होंगी, बट जो पहली चीज मैंने देखी थी एंड इट वाज द स्टोरी वाज बिल्ड अराउंड एन AI
You are
वाज
big fan of Matrix.
मैट्रिक्स, या बट लाइक, और मैंने मैट्रिक्स बाय द वे जाके देखी 2007 एंड 8 में,
Okay.
बट उसको स्टिल आप
बट वो
लाइक
पूरा
AI
जो
से कनेक्ट करना, हाँ वो थी लाइक अ कंप्यूटर जनरेटेड वर्ड और
Yeah.
सिमुलेशन काइंड ऑफ
हाँ,
थिंग, लेकिन जो सही अंडरस्टैंडिंग, मतलब जिसको मैंने सही तरीके से AI से कनेक्ट किया वो पर्सन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट था. इट्स अ
I remember
सीजन,
that.
चार सीजन्स थे उसके, एंड द स्टोरी वाज revolved around basically like a super intelligent being, or फिर eventually it gets like an evil AI as well, and then they collide, and वो जो पूरी स्टोरी थी that was basically for me an introduction to what an advanced form of an AI could look like. और frankly फिर जब ये recent सारा AI के अंदर एडवांसमेंट होना शुरू हुई है, तो उसके बाद जो जो लोगों के जो लोग सिनेरियोस पेंट करते थे, और कुछ हमने इंटरेस्टिंग सिमुलेशंस भी देखी हैं उसके अंदर, लाइक यू डू सी सम ऑफ दोस थिंग्स जो सीजन में हो रही थी, जो सीरियल में
नहीं,
मैंने
I
देखी.
agree.
why
तो
no one is saying Ravan?
हाँ, वो नहीं मैंने देखी, उसके अंदर भी AI है.
Yeah.
उसमें काफी जोर से AI है.
So as far as इंट्रोडक्शन टू AI, फिर कुछ रियल लाइफ में एप्लीकेशंस थी जो कि सब ने यूज की होंगी और हम सब उसको काइंड ऑफ लेवरेज करते थे. जैसे AI स्पैम फिल्टरिंग इज अ क्लासिकल AI प्रॉब्लम दैट जो सॉल्व हो गई है लार्जली, राइट. तो हमें अब हम देखते हैं और हम नोटिस भी नहीं करते. इट वाज अ ह्यूज प्रॉब्लम 10 years ago, राइट, जहाँ पे आपके स्पैम ईमेल्स वगैरह और वो सारी चीज़ें फिल्टर आउट हो जाती हैं. सो देयर आर एग्जांपल्स लाइक दैट. फिर मूवीज वगैरह में भी काफ़ी चीज़ों में AI लेवरेज हो रही थी, बट अगेन उसके कुछ कंस्ट्रेंट्स थी जिसकी वजह से उसका पूरा, और स्पेशली आप जो होते हैं वो देख रहे होते हैं कि आपके सामने जो चीज़ प्रेजेंट की जा रही है उसके पीछे कहाँ कहाँ पे कोई चीज़ यूटिलाइज हो रही है उसका आपको आइडिया नहीं होता. So yeah, examples like those. फिर जैसे जैसे ये recent times में compute के problem solve होते गए, AIs advance होती गई, तो हमने बहुत applications देखे अपने mobile phones के ऊपर जहाँ पे like बहुत insane किस्म की image editing हो रही होती है on device. That is very critical. Again, AI के algorithms leverage हो रहे होते हैं if you think about it. Yeah, so person of interest was the starting point, and then there were a ton of applications that I was seeing around me.
Okay, so I
One thing
think
I forgot, I think I want to mention,
mhm.
like application wise, I think the first time I used Shazam,
Oh
like for
yeah,
me that was pure magic.
What is
it
that?
did.
It's a
It basically detects your tune.
like music detection app, and
Yes.
it's like
Oh,
ये
that.
recent, yeah.
Huh.
So मैंने first time I think किसी movie में देखा उसको Shazam करते हुए, and then I was like I want to try this. I downloaded it. I
Yeah.
think कोई पुराना गाना था, and I was like how can it have like database of like थोड़ा सा technical mind जो था, I could understand कि it will listen to music, then it will cross check with some कोई पाकिस्तानी इंडियन गाना था, and like it just gave me, I was like this is much like that was first time for me where I knew कि mathematical competition में computer हमसे इंसान से बहुत smart है, but like searching something that fast was pure magic for me.
Yeah, I remember looking for a Pashto song, and it was so amazing. Like it was fascinating. I don't know why it was so fascinating. अगर मैं शायद एक अंग्रेजी गाना ढूंढती तो मुझे इतनी कोई खुशी नहीं होती. But that was like, man, this is fun.
Yeah.
So अब हम बात करें काफी ज्यादा एप्लीकेशंस के बारे में और किस तरह से हमने एप्लीकेशंस वी केम अक्रॉस दैम और हमने उनके साथ काम किया या हमने उन्हें अपनी डे टू डे लाइफ में यूज किया. Despite of that, I think थोड़ी सी misconception और है generally out there in the society. And जब हम इस एपिसोड के बारे में बात भी कर रहे थे तो I was telling everybody कि normally आप किसी भी लेमैन से कन्वर्सेशन करते हैं तो वो आपको कहते हैं कि एआई आ रही है और मैं हमेशा इमेजिन करती हूँ कि एआई ट्रेन में आ रही है. आई डोंट नो व्हाई बट दैट्स लाइक द like that's where my brain goes. It's like a person coming out of a train, like it's a Bollywood movie scene कि it's
यही
gonna
कुछ
be
की तरह
AI.
देखा जाता है.
हाँ बिल्कुल ऐसे ही, और रेस्क्यू कर लेगी सबको. तो कहाँ आ रही है ये AI और what it's gonna do? What do you guys like? Both of you are geeks clearly. So tell me about it. Like Tausif, let's start with you. किधर आ रही है AI और क्या करेगी ये AI आके?
To be honest, I am on that end of the spectrum जहाँ पे I do share जो सारे concerns हैं AI से related. बहुत सारे लोग कह रहे हैं कि AI is people are overestimating AI. And I think इस चीज पे by the way अब consensus है कि maybe they are overestimating in the short term, but in the long term they are underestimating it. So I think within like 5 years, it's gonna change a lot of things. और आज से 5 साल के बाद जब हम पीछे मुड़ के देखेंगे तो हम like आज से 5 साल के बाद जब हम पीछे 5 साल का कंपैरिजन करेंगे तो हम कहेंगे कि ये ऑल ऑफ अ सडन इतने बड़े चेंजेस कहाँ से आ गए और हालांकि वो सब कुछ हमारे सामने हुआ होगा. the application set जो है वो इतना बड़ा है और the kind of problems that it's gonna solve is huge, and I will get into the details of some of them. To give you an example, in the primer that I did, I mentioned DeepMind from Google, right? So they have done like 3 major projects, और जिसके अंदर like आगे further advancement भी हो रही है. One of their initials was so chess was already conquered in 1990s by IBM's program. There is a board game is very popular in South Korea. It's called Go. How is it different from chess? Is it is very complex game because the number of possibilities of a set of a Go board game is insane as compared to chess. तो उसके ऊपर उन्होंने they beat the world champion. Lee Sedol was the name. He was a South Korean, and Go South Korea में इतनी बड़ी चीज है कि जब ये like when this event was happening, तो it was shown on cinema screens, television screens. पूरे South Korea में लोग उस टाइम पे Go देख रहे थे. DeepMind put up a documentary on this on YouTube. You should check it. It's wonderfully made. They competed in a game of 5, which I think it won 4 straight games. I think it lost 5 or it won the 5th one as well. I'm not sure. So, but again, that was more for public consumption, right? Generating the news. Just where DeepMind jo hai, wo all of a sudden is on the front page of the news. Beats Lee Sedol at Go. Maybe not for everyone, like in South Korea, everyone knew ke kya hua. Like I had one of my colleagues from South Korea, and he was visibly sad that day. Ke there is this we had this Go champion, and he lost to a Google program. But again, that was a niche.
Yeah.
Then comes DeepMind's AlphaFold in 2018. So AlphaFold is a protein folding problem that exists for 50, 60 years. And the problem itself is एक जो प्रोटीन होता है वो एक चेन ऑफ अमीनो एसिड्स होता है और वो स्टेबल फॉर्म में नहीं रहता, वो जो है ना वो कोलैप्स कर जाता है इनटू अ 3D स्ट्रक्चर। और इस चीज को प्रेडिक्ट करना कि ये चीज किस स्ट्रक्चर में कोलैप्स करेगी, इसकी इवेंचुअल शेप क्या होगी, इज अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट प्रॉब्लम। जो कि एंड व्हाई इज दिस प्रॉब्लम इम्पोर्टेंट? बिकॉज अगर हम ये प्रिडिक्ट कर सकें कि ये चेन ऑफ अमीनो एसिड्स किस शेप में डिकम्पोज होंगे, तो हम उसकी बेस पे बहुत सारी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें और बहुत सारी डिस्कवरीज जो हैं उनको फास्ट ट्रैक कर सकते हैं, लाइक द build up of like discovery of medicines or discovering other molecules that can help us with with useful stuff. So AlphaFold happens in 2018, 2020 in another event. It hits 90% accuracy, way better than everyone else. And AlphaFold 3 eventually won the it basically replicated the whole human genome. So massive improvements there. The applications are insane. And then there is this other thing called GraphCast from DeepMind again. GraphCast is so they, in to squeeze it into like 2 minutes, they have built एक weather prediction system है जो कि to simplify the ability, वो बेसिकली हम लोगों के लैपटॉप पे रन कर सकता है, एज अपोज टू HRES सिस्टम्स फ्रॉम यूरोपियंस जो कि वेदर प्रिडिक्ट करता है। 10 दिन की वेदर प्रिडिक्शन के लिए वो घंटों लेता है और इट इज अ क्लस्टर ऑफ हंड्रेड्स ऑफ computers, so it is more like a supercomputer.
Yeah, but it's
So
not comparable, to be honest.
no,
It's not, yeah, it's not comparable. There's much, it's still, even being on like hundreds of servers being involved, weather computation is one of the most research and still one of the most error prone computation. So it can't, like, I think that's not an apple to apple comparison in my opinion.
yeah, right.
Because
So
what it does is it takes much less parameters and then
Mhm.
it gives, though it gives projection on those parameters, which, like, even if you just put them on paper, it's very easy to see, oh, why it's happening. But all those uncertainties with like gravitational uncertainty, like, that's almost impossible to, that's why like we see 40% confidence in rain being happening or not. So I think, just wanted to say, like, it's a very niche task specific domain.
yeah, so I will put up the document that DeepMind shared on their website. So what they've done is they have integrated their system on the HRES website as well. So HRES की वेबसाइट पे अगर आप जाएं तो DeepMind का भी आपको वेदर प्रेडिक्टर मिलेगा. इट्स हार्ड टू रैप योर हेड्स अराउंड कि वो किस तरह वर्क करता है, बट बेसिकली उन्होंने अपनी जो चीज बिल्ड की है इन इट्स फॉर्म, HRES हैज टेकन दैट और उन्होंने उसको अपनी वेबसाइट पे डाला है. So they are kind of acknowledging the kind of achievements that are being made here. In terms of results, now this is what they say on their website in the paper that they've published. GraphCast provided more accurate predictions on more than 90% of 1380 test variables and forecast lead times. More important thing, the 60 to 20 kilometer high region of the atmosphere, which is called the troposphere, अगर आप उसको उसमें constraint कर दें, it performed HRES on 99.7% of the test variables. Insane. So it's not that. So
yeah, but if you read between the lines,
accuracy नहीं चलेगा.
they still didn't adopt the system.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But just imagine the cost improvements of it. It just brings down to something that can run on your laptop as opposed to something that runs on a supercomputer that takes like hours to do like a 10 days
No, for sure,
prediction.
for sure. There is much more intelligent computations involved.
So
But what मैं बस जो इसमें चीज highlight करना चाहता था ना, and I think this is happening very often in AI domain, कि किसी एक niche domain को लिया जाता है, because right now AI is just task specific, right?
Yeah.
एज जो जनरल इंटेलिजेंस है उसको तो हमने अप्रोच नहीं किया, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल, आई कैन बिल्ड अ सिस्टम, चेस सिस्टम, with like a lot of good training, like very refined data sets, और उसको मैं ये नहीं कह सकता कि since, and I think this is a logical fallacy, कि मैं कहूँ कि since my AI based chess system is so advanced that it can beat whoever the world champion is, I can use the same system and then have it being comparable with any other human intelligence. Like saying that a human chess player with human intelligence cannot beat AI chess system doesn't mean the human system or human intelligence is still not superior to what AI doesn't have as an AGI system.
but it
So
is obsolete in
that's
chess.
what do you mean?
Uh,
But that's a task specific. That's a task specific intelligence. We
yes.
still don't have cognition where like I take my pretextual intelligence and then I like human mind word in a pretextual manner.
Yeah.
Where so saying that if you have a task specific system where chess player, human chess or machine chess player is better than human player doesn't essentially say that or that intelligence is comprehended with any other task. So what I'm trying to say is right now where we are, the task specific AI is definitely very useful, but it's not essentially just because के ये AI की वजह से हो रहा है. It's because के the training we have available.
So I want to add something here. So I work in a remote sensing field, और remote sensing में काफी constraints हैं आपके पास, और as Ali mentioned, कि a lot of things are, since in AIs are task specific, I want to go one step ahead. आपके पास बहुत सारी चीजें जो हैं वो आपकी जो है sense specific भी हो जाती हैं when you go in there. तो आप बड़ी domain specific models आपको generate करने पड़ते हैं for them to work, क्योंकि आपकी generalization is really hard for all kind of data set. One of the other things that I want to point out is कि I love having numbers, and that's something you do as a researcher. But once you start working commercially, और हम बेसिकली यहाँ पर बात कर रहे हैं कि AI की applications क्या होनी है, और उसमें जो सबसे बड़ा मसला होता है, you could have 99% on the paper, but it would not look like a 99%. और मैं उसमें एक बड़ी छोटी सी एग्जांपल आपको देती हूँ. हम कर रहे थे अर्बन सीन की क्लासिफिकेशन, और हमने उसमें जो है ना जो ग्राउंड पॉइंट्स हैं वो फाइंड आउट करने हैं, और हमने बिल्डिंग्स हैं उनको फाइंड आउट करना है. अब जो ग्राउंड के करेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं वो बिल्डिंग के टॉप के करेक्टरिस्टिक्स से बड़े सिमिलर हैं, क्योंकि ग्राउंड भी आपके पास फ्लैट होता है, बिल्डिंग का
Yeah,
टॉप भी अक्सर फ्लैट होता है. तो आपके पास बहुत सारी जो
especially
बिल्डिंग
when
के
you have
टॉप्स हैं
2D
वो
imagery. Yeah.
एग्जैक्टली तो आपका जो वो है बिल्डिंग के टॉप है वो रिकग्नाइज हो रहे हैं एज ग्राउंड. अब उसमें आपका ग्राउंड फिर भी 99% एक्यूरेसी पे है. अब उसकी रीजन क्या है? क्योंकि आपका ग्राउंड एज कंपेयर टू बिल्डिंग के बहुत ज्यादा है डेटा सेट में. तो वो हमेशा ये कहेगा कि आई हैव 99% एक्यूरेसी. सो अगर आप जाएं और आप देखें जो है रिमोट सेंसिंग डोमेन में जो स्टार्टअप्स हैं जो कि सिमेंटिक लेबलिंग कर रहे हैं और आपको सीन रिकग्नाइज करके दे रहे हैं 3D या 2D, उसमें वो उनकी ना पिच लाइन होती है कि हमारा ग्राउंड 99% एक्यूरेट है. एंड देन व्हेन यू सिट डाउन एंड यू स्टार्ट टॉकिंग टू क्लाइंट्स एंड यू स्टार्ट टॉकिंग टू पीपल एंड दे आर लाइक, वी डोंट केयर इफ इट्स 99%, हम इसे यूज नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि मेरा बिल्डिंग का टॉप ग्राउंड रिकग्नाइज हो रहा है, जो कि बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है commercially. So you do have those problems out there. And I just want to add something to it. On the application level, there are a lot of applications जो कि हम day to day, as Tosi mentioned, कि healthcare है आपके पास ये चीजें. But there's this funny thing that I feel कि for me that was very interesting was there are friends of mine who are using ChatGPT to read their tarot cards. And that is like a huge hit to a business, which everybody thought is going to sustain for the rest of their lives. So they will be able to do it. And for me, that was very interesting application. So I want to hear, Ali, from you, what were those applications that you think? Like, what was that part of AI when you felt like, yeah, yahan AI aa gayi hai and I should be having this conversation with people that they will be using this?
So I think at the moment अब चलो चलो ये तो डिस्कशन बड़ी लंबी हो सकती है क्योंकि अभी जो चीज़ हमने अप्रोच नहीं की एजीआई तो उसके अगेंस्ट प्रोजेक्ट करना कि एआई का पैराडाइम कैसे शिफ्ट होगा या कहाँ पे बात जाएगी एंड आई थिंक तो सिर्फ राइटली मेंशन कि अगले 5-10 सालों में कुछ ऐसा हो सकता है कि while looking back we will be shocked कि ये सब इतने शॉर्ट टाइम में कैसे हो गया बट जस्ट लाइक अगर मैं रियलिटी अभी करंट डोमेन में बात करूं कि यहाँ पे किस तरह से एआई यूज हो सकती है तो आई थिंक आई विल जस्ट नरेट के हाउ आई यूज एआई like most of my time. So I think mainly I'm using AI for as like a research analyst, research assistant for me. Like if I have something, हम previously किसी चीज़ को कैसे करते थे हम गूगल या किसी दूसरे सर्च इंजन पे जाते थे हम उसमें क्वेरी डालते थे कभी रिजल्ट्स मिलते थे कभी ज़्यादा क्वेरी चेंज करनी पड़ती थी सो इंफॉर्मेशन रिट्रीवल बड़ी पेनफुल थी ठीक है यू विजिट डिफरेंट लिंक्स यू समटाइम्स यू हैव टू डिस्कार्ड देम सो आई थिंक एआई का जो एक करंट करंट फॉर्म में बहुत मेरे लिए यूजफुल रोल है वो है इंफॉर्मेशन रिट्रीवल और most of the time that information is much more accurate than what I could find from Bing or Google. Although like a Bing or Google be same like ChatGPT or other services को use करके same kind of application को replicate कर रहे हैं. Other than that, I think जो सारे manual labor intensive tasks हैं, for example, if I'm doing a formatting, I know that I have 5-6 tables where I need to compute something based on that and then generate. So I'm no more using those like Excel tables for those computations. I just put data there. I verify for a few times and then like I think computational wise it's smart enough or trustworthy enough कि जिसको मैं use कर सकता हूँ. I think as a software engineering assistant AI is very much useful. वहाँ पे मतलब AI को लोग काफी useful
I think
देख
Stack
सकते हैं.
Overflow got replaced.
Yeah, so Stack Overflow also, and I'm not sure if you guys will agree, but I do. So you know, हम आज से कुछ साल पहले कहते थे if you even search your a little like even a minor symptom on Google, Google will say you have high chances of getting a heart attack. So मैंने you know like how ChatGPT keep its memory. So मैंने एक विंडो अपने लिए बनाई हुई है जिसमें मैंने काफी हद तक उसको ट्रेन किया हुआ है बेस्ड ऑन लाइक माय पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन कि मेरी एज क्या है लाइक व्हाट हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स आई हैड नाउ आई जस्ट गो देयर व्हेनेवर आई हैव समथिंग टू आस्क एंड आई एम अगेन पर्सनल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी स्टिल स्टेज कि आप हर उस चीज को आप अपनी इंटेलिजेंस उसके बाद यूज करो बट इट्स आई थिंक आई फाउंड इट स्टिल वेरी यूजफुल कि I use it as a personal health assistant just to ask a very borderline question which I used to ask on and like it's still not replacing my doctor or family physician but just like searching few things or like if this is something should I seek help like what kind of problem it could have and then it becomes much easier to talk with your these are few examples then I think writing assistant is one of the major
Yeah,
part.
I think everybody, like we both edited our theses.
Yeah, so and now I think it's becoming previously like even academia wasn't ready for it. Now even like in my company, they are working on tools where because in like some works drafting is one major task like day-to-day activity where people spend a lot of time there and they have realized that yes like AI writing assistant capabilities are very useful when you write or like improve your writing. So I think these are other than that I know there are very good AI usage for video creation for image creation. That's not particularly my use case but I have seen some good work happening there.
Okay, so I think I want to talk both of you to talk about this is which is an ages old question whenever the new technology comes in. कि इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन के टाइम पे भी यही हुआ था कि लेबर मार्केट किस तरह से अफेक्ट होगी, जो मोस्टली लोग आपसे पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या मेरी नौकरी चली जाएगी, उसकी projections, are there any figures you guys have and you want to share, और आपकी अपने estimates क्या हैं, आपको क्या लग रहा है in your own experience, because हमने काफी ज्यादा paradigm shift होते हुए in last 20 years देखा है with social media and now with AI. What do you both think कि what's out there, what's going to happen? So I just want to point it out here कि there are surveys which says कि आपकी 40% of the jobs will be affected. It doesn't mean कि 40% jobs eliminate हो जाएंगी, they will be affected. And I want to hear from you, Tosi, what do you think is going to happen to our labor market? And I want you to give out some examples for our viewers to understand better that how it can impact.
Right. So, yes, 40% effect होंगी, but कुछ replace हो जाएंगी. Like they
Yes.
will not exist anymore. We should be like very open about it. There is an example of a company जिसको मैं base बनाऊंगा, and then I'll build my case on that. There is a company called Klarna. It's a Swedish company. It's a buy now, pay later business. So they went all in on AI since ChatGPT. They have come up with a chatbot, and they have replaced 700 of their employees through the chatbot. And that is just 1 year after ChatGPT, right? Increased 27% of their revenue, and in terms of customer service, brought the resolution time down to 2 minutes from 11 minutes. So massive improvement. 700 employees removed by a single chatbot. 90% of the employees in that company are using generative AI tools. They removed 1,000 jobs in total last year. They plan to operate from now on just with the 2,000 employees. No more hiring. They have put like a hiring freeze in effect. So that, and also what they have done is, so they were using some of these SaaS products like Salesforce and Workday, and they have realized कि हमें ज़रूरत नहीं है. So I was thinking कि उन्होंने क्या किया होगा. तो effectively it makes sense कि अगर मैंने Salesforce की सब्सक्रिप्शन बाय की हुई है and they have like 100 features और मुझे उसमें से सिर्फ 2 चाहिए, तो why am I paying for the bundle, right?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah, and also
they've effectively done is they've come up with like a process of their own, जिसके अंदर उन्होंने कुछ चीजें they put together and they've replicated it, essentially what Salesforce and Workday were achieving for them. So वो is businesses, इस तरह के businesses affect होंगे, इनके margins shrink होंगे. Some of the jobs, especially writing and customer support, those jobs will be blown out of the water, which will be very clear about it. There is no way, especially the last unveil of their products by OpenAI, जहाँ पे उनका advanced voice assistant. If you have seen that, 5 minutes of seeing that, and you will know that the call centers ka business is gone. Why?
Yeah.
Because in call centers you have like a set number of individuals who can communicate for 24 hours, limited, like even in shifts, limited contribution unka hoga. That gets replaced by someone that can work like 365 days a year, 24 hours, and that can communicate across, let's say, 45 different languages, right? So कस्टमर सपोर्ट की जॉब्स आर मैसिवली एट रिस्क. फिर हम पूरी एक स्टोरी देख रहे हैं जो हॉलीवुड में हो रही है, जो राइटर्स प्रोटेस्ट था, एंड इवेंचुअली दे हैड टू गिव इन. और आई थिंक लास्ट मंथ वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट स्टूडियोज went on and acquired like an AI business, and essentially what they're doing with that business is अब आज के टाइम में क्या होता है, लेट्स से गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स guys need to shoot something, they'll have to pick a location, go there and do like उसके लिए आपको लोकेशन पर्सन चाहिए, आप उसके लिए होटल बुकिंग्स करोगे, आपके ट्रैवल एक्सपेंसेस होंगे. So the company that they have acquired largely does that, and they say that you can do all of that in a studio, so why bother? So again, an example of, just imagine the kind of industries that are linked with it. Like hotel industry will get affected, the travel industry will get affected, the locations person, people who specialize in picking up locations and then managing those locations, wo wali industry impact hogi. So again, there are examples like these, and the call center in particular is very important from Pakistan, because Pakistan is what, like $1 billion of IT exports, and a major chunk of that comes through the call centers. There are many call centers operating in Pakistan. India in particular, India has a 150 billion IT export industry. A large chunk of that is call center. इंडिया के बारे में तो बल्कि वो रनिंग जोक भी है कि like if you need assistant, you're gonna end up being connected to someone in India, right? So yeah, massive disruption, especially in these 2-3 industries that I named, is definitely going to happen.
So, Ali, I want you to talk about this, but I want you to specifically talk about the high-end jobs, the ones which requires a lot of specialty, how they would be affected.
Okay, so I was going to talk about that anyhow, but thanks for mentioning it. I think like what the Steve was covering is true. Like especially when जो इस तरह के jobs हैं जिसमें जो call center है, which mainly like it's a workflow. आपके सामने एक script होता है. You don't need to use your human intelligence. उसमें human intelligence बहुत ज़्यादा involved नहीं है. Data entry jobs. It's a manual task, right? होटल रिसेप्शनिस्ट और होटल पे आप कॉल करके कमरा बुक करवाते हो, दैट डजंट नीड आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स थिंकिंग. ठीक है. प्रूफ रीडिंग, स्पेलिंग चेकिंग, पर्सनल असिस्टेंट, scheduler, right? All of these tasks, I think we are seeing a pattern there कि उसके अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा ह्यूमन टच की ज़रूरत नहीं है. बट जो हाई एंड हम बात मतलब जब जो ऐसी जॉब्स हैं जिसमें यू हैव आइदर अ नेसेसिटी, लाइक एज अ फॉर एग्जांपल इन माय डोमेन न्यूक्लियर में देर आर सो मेनी टास्क जहाँ पे ये इन्फोर्स किया जाता है कि यू हैव टू यूज ह्यूमन इन द लूप, कि जब तक आपको टूल्स भी हैं और वो क्वालिफाइड टूल्स हैं, लाइक दोज टूल्स हैव वेरी एक्सपेंसिव प्रोसेस टू गेट क्वालिफाइड, तो आप कंप्यूटर को यूज भी कर रहे हो इवन दो द कंप्यूटर इज नॉट लाइक you're not going to fire a computer when something goes south, right? You're still going to find a human to blame for something. I think जो इस तरह की jobs हैं, there is a little bit exaggeration there in my personal opinion. You will always need human factor. Human factor is a one major, like go to any power generation plant, even nuclear, even hydro, even gas. They have massive control rooms, all equipped with like a like huge panels. So even there, like when something is being projected, you have responsibility for double verifying. So those jobs I don't see a huge impact. Even there is a very strong pushback, like when we are even recommending like very minor assistive tools. So just consider it that way. These tools are not going to make decisions for you for you. These tools, these AI tools, we see pains there where like you see some valve leaking pressure, and then you have to open different logs just to see okay, what's happening. Maybe something was reported last week. Maybe there is a maintenance which is approaching. And then you see, okay, now I need to figure out in which work procedure I am right now, because it's leaking something. Is it code red, code blue, code, like whatever the terminologies are. There is a strong pushback, and they have very strong reasons why they don't want to use even assistive tools there, because human reliance is one of a very strong aspect के जहाँ पे आप एक टूल को अडॉप्ट करते हो और उस टूल को आप इतना लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए अडॉप्ट कर देते हो कि देन यू फॉरगेट कि दिस वाज ओनली एन असिस्टिव टूल, देन you stop using your, for example, you folks must have driven the cars with blind assist, right? So मेरी एक गाड़ी में है, एक में नहीं है. तो अब वो करता क्या है कि वो ब्लाइंड स्पॉट, एक मेरी गाड़ी है जिसमें वो ब्लाइंड स्पॉट का इंडिकेटर आता है, तो आई हैव स्टॉप चेकिंग माय ब्लाइंड स्पॉट लाइक फिजिकली. अब मैं जब दूसरी गाड़ी में बैठता हूँ तो आई टेंड टू फॉरगेट, and
Yeah.
I have this fear because sometimes I might get into problem because my brain is just relying on my habits are changing. Even though, like I did mention coding example, uh, there will be, I think, maybe not extremely saying ke job lost hoga, but there will be definitely job displacement.
Mm.
Like there will be less people, like for example, if a company needs 100 programmers right now, they might need much less just to refactor code like in their own way where they think there is some kind of lag. But again, this is a question of like how the future hold those capabilities. Other than that, I think medical, I think those kind of fields are still very behind in technology
Mm.
adoption, so that gives them a lot of room to catch up most of the
I think
time.
radiologists like straight away
Yeah,
comes to mind.
st- that
Mm.
that's a very, I think, a natural kind of, like what they do usually, they just read, right? Computer vision is
Yeah.
already much,
Yeah.
and I think हमने examples भी देखी हैं जिसमें उन्होंने like they were diagnosing those anomalies much better than humans.
Yeah.
Way better.
So yeah, so I think it, you should be worried, as Suseef said, you should be worried कि AI का impact होगा, बहुत strong impact होगा, but those people should be more worried who think they are involved in much manual tasks. And uh, if AI is a caution for you, it's also an opportunity for you. Maybe you can uh, up upself yourself with those skills which can be like which are gonna get advantage from AI. So job displacement for sure, uh, job disruption for sure, job loss for sure, but I think it's gonna be much limited to those sectors where your human touch is much less needed.
But thank you, both of you. I think I agree with the impact that we are talking about. There are surveys out there which are actually projecting how much the economies will be impacted by it. But one thing I want to add here is that in last couple of days I was speaking to a healthcare company, which is basically a healthcare AI company, and we were talking about how and because I was coming from a background where it has always been so hard for people in remote sensing to adopt AI because आपके पास privacy concerns हैं, आपके पास different किस्म की national security reasons हैं, आप mostly जो data आ रहा है वो या तो defense से आ रहा होता है या government से आ रहा होता है और they have their own reasons to not trust it because they need to see more, they need to understand more, और AI को हमेशा एक black box की तरह treat किया जाता है. So he mentioned something very interesting is he said we were saying the same thing 5 years ago with healthcare. Because it's such a sensitive topic. I like you don't want to be misdiagnosed with a cancer. You don't want to be misdiagnosed for a neurological disease. But now the way it's going, there are like 11 just for this specific startup. There were 1,100 hospitals all over the world engaging with what they have developed, and it's just one. There are I
Yeah,
think there are hundreds of healthcare startups out there. So अगर हम इस चीज को mind में रखें तो there would be like thousands of hospitals being attached with it, and I don't think it's replacing their jobs like doctors' jobs, but it's helping them improve it. आपके पास HL7 standards are getting better because of it. So I do agree कि आपके पास jobs as both of you said कि effect होंगी और we need to find those skills that can help us despite of
yeah,
how AI is contributing. I also I think पिछले कुछ अरसे में मेरे लिए जो चीज interesting थी is going back and trying to find out कि AI में पाकिस्तान में क्या हो रहा है.
hmm
And And I have worked in public and private sector and a bit in academia in Pakistan. And जो सबसे बड़ा मसला है, all three sectors, private being the best out of all three of them, is कि आपके पास uh, adaptation to a new technology is always hard. हम अभी तक बहुत जगहों पे digitization भी नहीं कर सके हैं completely. And let me give you an example about it. I was working in public sector, or I was helping interior government to basically standardize their data sets. तो उन्हें हर दिन के एंड पर एक्सेल रिपोर्ट्स आती थी जिसमें सारी लिस्ट होती थी कि आज कितनी एफआईआर दर्ज हुई है हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट से, और वो कोई इवन उसमें जो फील्ड्स थी वो ही स्टैंडर्डाइज नहीं थी. तो उसकी डिजिटाइजेशन, फिर ऑटोमेशन, and then introducing AI into it. I think in public sector, it didn't feel like, I'm talking 6 years ago. So let's say they have done digitization in 6 years. Though they make these really good Pakistan, like Vision 2025 and everything, and I've worked on a few of those proposals and stuff. It's very a good conversation to have, but is there an impact? Is there a demand? Are policymakers, are the key players actually doing something about it? Because जो मुझे startups मिले, the ones that are registered, I couldn't see a AI product, like a strong AI product coming from it. I see a lot of companies consulting, a lot of companies doing products that are out there, like computer vision की कुछ applications हैं, healthcare की कुछ applications हैं. They do these case studies for other companies, which I understand it has a market and should be done. But is there something you want to talk about and tell me? And I want you, Ali, to talk about how you see the AI landscape in Pakistan.
I think with any other thing, I was just checking AI readiness list, and Pakistan sadly ranked 92. So although that does resembles with our country code, but not something to be happy about. I think AI. So I know some companies which are doing like services for, or either they are hiring resources from Pakistan. But other than that, I also don't know any like कोई ऐसा startup जिसका मुझे पता हो या जो ऐसी impactful AI application जो कि सिर्फ पाकिस्तान के लिए बन रही हो. And I don't think if I'm expecting that as well. I will tell you why. So you're working in like specifically an AI domain to see if it's working as well. And I'm sure जब आप लोग किसी एक यूज केस को एआई के साथ ऑटोमेट करना चाह रहे होते हो, द फर्स्ट थिंग यू लुक इज के डू यू हैव डाटा. तो
Yeah.
आई थिंक दैट्स गोना बी अ ह्यूज प्रॉब्लम इन पाकिस्तान. हमारी तो मेजर पोर्शन ऑफ इकोनॉमी ही अनडॉक्यूमेंटेड है. हमारी तो लैंड रिकॉर्ड से लेके हेल्थ केयर रिकॉर्ड्स, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, डू यू थिंक वी हैव डाटा टू for like if we want to use AI in healthcare just to see like how what kind of diseases are trending or what kind like what were those patients. So I think we don't keep like we don't have proper digitalization there. अगर
Yeah.
data ही नहीं है, you can take or you can borrow those smart algorithms, but they're not going to do much. Like they're not going to have that transfer of domain where they say, yeah, if there's something is that kind of happening in Canada or USA, seems like we don't need a. So I think data is going to be a big pain, and policymakers should start thinking about this. They हर चीज़ की तरह हम एक रिएक्शन मोड में चलते हैं. जब ए ज़रूरत बन जाएगी हमने तभी जाकर अडॉप्ट करनी है. Although I was very happy when I think the last president, I think they started AI research center.
Mhm.
Although I'm not sure where that is. उसके बाद I think there was a Sinopark institution and there was a national research. They do have a policy, but to be honest, I
So
couldn't
it's in
find
NUST.
any.
The research center is in NUST.
Yeah.
It's
So
National Artificial
yeah.
Intelligence Center.
So उसके बाद I'm not sure के or maybe that my knowledge is limited in that particular domain. I couldn't find anything coming out of that. But I know we do have talent for that. Like I personally know some of my previous professors who are doing like some amazing work in AI. But then again, like you can have all those amazing algorithms, but जब आप उनको applicable ही नहीं कर सकते पाकिस्तान में, तो they don't offer much value, in my opinion.
So tell me, Tosif, do you know any big AI products hiding in Pakistan?
No, so the best I knew were some of Pakistan private companies were acting as a supplementary where they were वो labeling की jobs कर रही थी for some of the foreign AI companies जो so they are getting data उसको वो label कर रहे हैं but I don't think वो they will be under some kind of a binding where they जो
Yeah.
उनके पास data are is of no use to them. So that being said, largely I think AI is gonna be, as far as public sector is concerned, I wish our public sector had not discovered AI at all because it's gonna be more of an overkill. अब हम हर चीज को AI से करने की कोशिश करेंगे जहाँ पे you don't
Yeah.
have the basics right. So we're gonna end up wasting a ton of talent and resources and whatnot. So what they should do is I think public sector should totally forget that AI exists, focus on the like the building blocks of it. Let that happen. As far as private sector is concerned, उनके लिए थोड़ी कोई जिंदगी आसान कर सकती है अगर public sector तो कर दे. मे बी हमें वो कुछ अपने एंड पे अचीव कर दें. अदर देन दैट I think लोगों को individually अपने तो I think there is an opportunity on an individual level. उसमें the best the state can do is के at least do like a contract यार with Starlink or something. सबको इंटरनेट दे दो पाकिस्तान में and just let the people get exposure to these tools. People are intelligent, they will find ways to leverage these tools to come up with things that will bring value eventually. So I think that should be the route. Other than that, largely since we don't have the basics that lead to intelligent systems in place, so to expect कि कुछ miracle होगा या कोई AI advances होंगे, I think it's a fool's paradise.
But I just want to add one thing on this, like not exactly the same example, but हम सबको याद होगा कोविड के, like during कोविड पाकिस्तान में एक quite rapid पब्लिक सेक्टर साइड से डाटा कलेक्शन एटलीस्ट कि कहाँ पे कोविड के क्या, और फिर डैशबोर्डिंग, and then based on that dashboarding, smart lockdowns, based on those like rising numbers, आपने जो वैक्सीन्स हैं वो कहाँ पे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है, फिर उसको प्रायोरिटाइज करना. So I like, and I agree with Ke, like most of the things we do, especially public sector in Pakistan, is for optics. But I think, like, as much as I know our history, I really want ke kuch had tak, for example, essentially for healthcare and education, अगर अगर public sector में भी कुछ इस चीज पे काम हो तो, like even like, because most of the time पाकिस्तान में problem क्या है, we have a disconnect. जो आपके पॉलिसी मेकर्स हैं और जो आपकी रूट लेवल प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, उसका डिस्कनेक्ट है. Don't you think if they ideally in a perfect world, if they have all that data and if they have those algorithms which just initiates kind of like a good summary report for them, like, oh, we are lacking in this and this is kind of trajectory, because कोविड में हमें वो विल थोड़ी सी नजर आई थी और उसकी एप्लीकेशन भी नजर आई, एंड आई थिंक इट वाज यूजफुल एट द एंड ऑफ द
Yeah,
डे,
it was.
इट वाज यूजफुल.
Yeah, so I think वो जो कोविड वाली एग्जांपल है ना, वो बहुत अच्छी एग्जांपल है, लेकिन उसके अंदर यूनिक क्या था? उसके अंदर यूनिक ये था कि all the provinces slash government slash military, they were all aligned at that time.
And it was
As we
reactive.
say, same page.
On the same page, exactly. वो वाला same page नहीं, but same page, right?
Yeah.
So वो चीज फिर हो गई, and it's a good example कि अगर like there is
चाहे तो,
consensus
if there is a will.
हाँ तो again वो नहीं होने वाला ना, like let's be real.
Yeah, as I said, like as far as I want, I know the history.
Yeah, so I think it's also a good example of us being reactive. I have seen it a lot in public sector. कि आपके पास एक there was this example I have that I want to talk about is कि जो है पाकिस्तान में माइनर्स के सिलिकोसिस के केसेस डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं होते, जो कि which is the most common cancer in minors, और वो वाहिद कैंसर है जो कि एक एक्सरे से आप ना डिटेक्ट कर सकते हो, उसमें कुछ भी नहीं करना, और वो मोस्टली दुनिया में बड़ी आपके जो माइनर्स हैं वो डॉक्यूमेंटेड है, जो आपकी माइनिंग करें, एंड देन यू आल्सो डॉक्यूमेंट एंड यू डू जस्ट लाइक एक्सरे मशीन, you take it near the mine and you give them an x-ray. And at some point there was this LUMS student who was doing a case study on it, and then he ended up submitting it to the Chief Justice, and he took a suo motu action, and then he sent like a letters to all the 4 provinces और उनकी environmental agencies को, and I remember data being collected in within a week. It was accurate data. I put all the data, like I did a lot of digitization of that
Yeah.
data set, but I saw that happening.
डंडा बेस गवर्नेंस हो तो फिर हो जाएगा.
उसने भी डायरेक्ट लेटर ही चीफ जस्टिस को लिख दिया, तो फिर तो
हाँ और वो
ऊपर से आया ना.
हाँ, और वो बंदा मतलब लाइक उसने अपनी सारी रिसर्च खुद फंड की है, मतलब he went from one province to another province and he did the documentation. No. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is if you have people and as we said, we have talent, we have people who have the will to do
we definitely
things.
have talent. और दूसरी एक और चीज भी है, टैलेंट शिफ्ट भी हो जाता है. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ वी हैव कंप्यूटर साइंटिस्ट हु आर नॉट इवन वर्किंग इन एआई, जब एक डिमांड होगी, जब एक जरूरत होगी चीज की, तो व्हाई यू थिंक पीपल वुड नॉट बी इन्वेस्टिंग इन दैट?
Of course. So okay, we're coming to the conclusion of today's conversation, and I want to summarize a little bit about what fantasize like what is fascinating to you when it comes to AI, and what you are terrified when it comes to AI. And for me, I think there's just one word, like one line, which is AI can theoretically do anything. That does fascinates me. And it's also something that is terrifying for me, because it means we do need a lot of policy making. We need to really, really catch up on that front. And I want you, Ali, to tell me what do you think? What is fascinating for you and what is scary for you when it comes to this new technology?
To be honest, what fascinates me is the time saving aspect of it. And I think we are under, like, we may, for example, we used to do some tasks for like finding patterns from data, and like thinking के इसके अंदर क्या outliers हैं, क्या problems हैं. That doesn't require much effort right now. So having that power is something like it fascinates me a lot, and it's applicable to like many use cases. Then उसकी आई थिंक पर्टिकुलर एग्जांपल्स आप मैं कहूँ कि मैं इसमें प्रोडक्टिव मेंटेनेंस कर सकता हूँ, मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, मैं वो कर सकता हूँ, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इट जस्ट फॉर मी द समरी इज it saves a lot of your time. What, to be honest, like I don't think if I have any fear. I know we as human, we will have some pushbacks, we will have some ethical concerns, we will have some legislation. At the end of the day, the government want economy as well. It's not just gonna be कि like सारी दुनिया घर बैठ जाएगी जब AI आ जाएगी, सारे computers काम. In my mind, I don't see that happening. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't have an economical appeal. Everything happen in this world needs to have an economical appeal. So if you don't have jobs, you don't have economy. If you don't have economy, you don't have governance. So that is not gonna happen. there will be so many changes we will be seeing, but I know we will be fine. जब इंडस्ट्रियल ऑटोमेशन भी आई थी, इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन भी आई थी, लोगों ने कहा था कि लेबर वर्क चले जाएंगे, बट आई थिंक एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वी वर फाइन. लोगों ने नए स्किल सीखे, एंड इस चीज़ की ज़रूरत है अभी. वी नीड टू अपग्रेड अवर सेल्फ. टेक्नोलॉजीज आएंगी
Evolution.
ना, या एवोल्यूशन आएगी. आई थिंक इट्स पार्ट ऑफ द प्रोसेस. ऑल द पेन्स at the end of the day these things will pay. So I don't think if I have any major fear, unless I see AGI and then I see the, but since I don't see it, I think I will not overthink about it.
So what about you, Tosif?
Right. So promising things are things like AlphaFold, all these advances being made by the isomorphic labs, DeepMind, all the life-changing things, drug discovery, all of those things that can make lives better. At some point, I totally believe in these self-driving systems. We're gonna have them in some shape or form at some point. So those are promising. All the different ways lives could be made better. Those, if it could help us, it could help us solve the climate change problem, because that is one of the theories that the climate is probably screwed to a point कि अब यहाँ से कुछ नहीं हो सकता, तो let's go like full throttle AI and see if we can come up with something that can help solve it. So that's the good side of it. The bad side of it is जिस तरह से AI का build out शुरू हो गया है, उसका the inequality it will bring, क्योंकि eventually at this point it's effectively दो मुल्कों के बीच में competition है. It's just US and China. The rest of the world is just a spectator. So what the outcome of that gonna be is both of these, China we already know. For US, I think they are gonna put aside a lot of the regulation. अली knows के न्यूक्लियर और इस सब के ऊपर चीजें कितनी स्लो होती हैं, ठीक है. Now watch Microsoft, Google and Amazon do it, and you will see कि यार ये all of a sudden इतना कुछ कैसे हो रहा है, because governments know the importance of winning this. So it's basically kind of an arms race जिसको दोनों गवर्नमेंट जो है वो विन करने की कोशिश करें, एंड in the process I think we might see some unintended consequences जहाँ पे something bad might happen, or especially if these systems are put into effect. And I know they will be like properly guarded, but if in some way they get compromised or fall into the wrong hands, as far as उसके अंदर states हो तो still they will play by some rules. But imagine like a bad individual, the havoc that it could cause. So
Yeah.
I think that's the fear side of it.
Yeah, not, but still, I think not a good example when I say like जब countries ने nuclear arms बनना शुरू हुई, they were also like these kind of like, we never have seen a single instance where like anything like, what I'm trying to say is as sensitive as nuclear energy, we were fine. We are fine even until now, apart from like one or two incidents. But as useful as AI, I want to believe that we will be fine as well.
So thank you, both of you. I think the takeaway is that AI is definitely gonna play a huge role in the economy's growth in next couple of years. We are seeing some insane projections of how much it's gonna contribute to the GDP of every country. We also are aware of the good uses and the bad uses, but at the end of day, I always tend to, as a scientist, I always believe a technology cannot be good or bad. It's the intent of using it. And we as humans, if we have a good intent, and which AI does, like in a lot of ways, every technology will have that. And in AI's case, we see that there is a huge a potential of contributing to the goodness of humanity and giving people this opportunity to include AI into their daily lives to make it easier. And I think I would like to conclude our episode here, and hopefully we can have another episode about AI. And I had a lot of fun talking to both of you on this topic. And I would like to thank all of you for your feedback for the first episode. We are looking forward to hear more what you think, what the good, bad, and the ugly, everything. And we would like you to show us some love, subscribe, follow, hit the bell icon. We are all in Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast. I just want to mention here for the Pakistan's users that Spotify in Pakistan doesn't have a podcast feature. So we are hoping to hear you all on YouTube, what you have got to say. And thank you so much. It was lovely talking to both of you.
Likewise.
Take care.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.